So I finished watching the first season of That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime, and I actually liked it despite how many people have said that it wasn't that good. The main complaints that I've seen is that the protagonist was too overpowered and solved his problems without much effort or consequences. They do have a point. There isn't much at stake when you know that the main hero is just gonna come in and save the day, but I enjoyed the anime because I began watching it as a more lighthearted series. It may sound boring that there's no real threat since the incidents the hero encounters are swiftly resolved, but I found it fun because I admire the characters. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the fan service this anime has because it kinda ties into the whole character thing. So, in this world, if you're given a name and the person who names you has enough magical power, you evolve, kinda like a Pokemon. A lot of characters that the protagonist encounters are given names by him, and then they evolve and end up becoming more powerful, but more importantly, they become incredibly cute and attractive. Let's take a look at Benimaru and Soe. I can't remember when an ogre in fiction has ever been this freaking attractive. Besides Shrek. But seriously, let's look at some of the other ogres that have evolved. It doesn't really need much to say about them. I just have to show you their designs and they speak for themselves. Look at her. Shion is very clearly meant to be a sexy secretary trope. And I totally love how the anime doesn't even try to hide it.
Hinjaku. Wow!
Even the lizard women look cute. Yes, these are the evolved lizardmen. So yeah, a lot of these fantasy world monsters become mo-fied. Remember when Earth was mo-fied and then Typods were? What a time to be alive. Okay, so there's the fan service and we got that out of the way. Let's go back to our protagonist, Rimuru, because I kinda want to talk about him. Rimuru is a weird protagonist. He is pretty much the perfect hero. He makes the right decisions and thinks logically, he's benevolent and can take over the world easily if he wanted to, but he opts instead to make it a better place. He's overpowered and has abilities that portray him like an endgame character in an RPG, but it's still fun to watch because of his interactions with the other characters, and it's satisfying seeing him use his powers responsibly and logically. Rimuru Tempest is a protagonist with a flat character arc. He remains the same kind of person throughout the series and his beliefs and morals never really change. And like other protagonists or characters that don't have character arcs, they instead influence those around them and they change because of it. Essentially, Rimuru's positive outlook on the world and desire to create a peaceful nation affects the supporting characters, giving them their own character arcs. We see this in other protagonists such as Captain America. He's unyielding, he never changes as a person, and that unwavering determination changes the characters around him. Rimuru's positivity helps make the other characters become better people. For instance, the goblins and dire wolves form a bond similar to the humans' domestication of dogs. The ogres whose villages were destroyed find a place among the goblin village, and Gabiru, who has a superiority complex and overconfident personality, learns how to become more humble and also finds a place in the growing nation.
よくぞ聞いてくれました。順調ですぞ。我が輩の努力の結晶をご覧ください。
どれどれ。そうじゃねえか。
なんと、これは失敬。このガビル、少しばかり功を焦っておりました。
The other point of contention against Rimuru that I've seen is how he is flawless in his decision-making and actions. In other words, the actions he takes are never frustrating and he can fix almost any problem because of his super broken abilities.
魔法界を使ってコピーを作成してくれ。
コピー作成。成功しました。
魔法界のロングソード20本達成だ。
Whenever a conflict is usually presented to a protagonist in any work of fiction, they don't always make the smartest and logical choices, nor are they usually able to solve them. They just do what they think is right, even if it's clear that it would make the situation worse. They are flawed characters, and that's what makes them relatable and engaging. Rimuru is nothing like that, and he always seems to do the right thing, almost like when you've played a video game before and after replaying it, you know exactly what to do at each point of the game. That's not a bad thing personally, because I find it enjoyable not being frustrated at questionable decisions made by our hero. Yes, it does make for more interesting storytelling and plot development to not have the heroes make the perfect decisions and have everything fall perfectly into place, but again, I don't think this anime is meant to be gripping in that sense and is aimed more at being a feel-good story with lighthearted antics.
テンペストウルフ。ま、よかったな。ちょっとは迷惑を考えろ。申し訳ありません。体の大きさまで変えられるのか、便利だな。
Everything works out for the protagonists, and any consequences or opposing forces they encounter end up being minor or even turn out for the best. For example, when visiting the dwarf city, Rimuru and some of his new dwarf friends find themselves in hot water when one of the dwarves, Kaijin, assaults the minister after he insulted Rimuru. The minister was established as a minor antagonist who unfairly tries to tarnish Kaijin's reputation and bring him to court for assaulting him. After the minister bribes the lawyer to turn on them, Rimuru and the dwarves are exiled from the dwarf city, but this ends up being the best for Rimuru because the dwarves become part of the goblin village, and Rimuru himself accomplishes his goal of finding artisans to help the village learn how to weave clothes and forge armor and weapons. And later on in the anime, the minister ends up serving Rimuru's alliance on orders of the Dwarf King. The minister learns his lessons and his previous grievances work out for the best because he becomes one of the best researchers in Rimuru's nation. Essentially, everything just falls into place for our heroes, but it's done in a way that still makes it interesting. It's just satisfying seeing things with perfect results. We live in a world where not everything falls into place. We overcome obstacles, make mistakes, and have regrets. Yet in fiction, it is entertaining to watch characters suffer through their own challenges, and we cheer them on and become delighted when they overcome their problems. But in my opinion, it is also satisfying when characters go through their problems really easily, and it feels good to see them what it's like when fate deals perfect hands. Even though it's fun to see when everything falls apart for our heroes when they're given the worst outcomes for them to solve, I believe that it's also true for the other end of the spectrum. That time I got reincarnated as a slime isn't intended to give us that sense of thrill or anticipation for what our heroes will do when faced with a dilemma, but it just gives us what we want without much effort. People in real life say that they want a challenge in life, and that's not a bad thing, but there are times where we wish that something was just given to us on a silver platter, and that's kind of like what this anime represents and does for us. In a way, I kinda see this anime as more of a slice of life set in a fantasy setting. Another big reason why this anime is interesting is that despite the obstacles they easily overcome, there is still a clear sense of progression. The plot still moves forward, the protagonist has clear goals that are presented to us, and we know what is happening in the plot at all times. It really feels like a video game where you start off with nothing and build up your resources and meet new characters and create your own nation to help everyone live in harmony. We go from this to this. The anime still provides us with problems and solutions and denouement, but it's just paced in a way where the incident is sped up to quickly reach the solution. The end results would still be the same if the problems the protagonist encountered were bigger hurdles. If the first season had been spread out to 46 episodes instead of 23, we still get that plot progression, except that the anime would have more time to make these conflicts and face-offs with villains more thrilling and breathtaking. But this anime focuses mostly on the jovial and laid-back tone moments. That's what slice-of-life animes are generally like, but this fantasy isekai genre anime has that same aim, and I like what they're trying to accomplish. So as I said, this anime may not be for those who want to see thrilling stories set in a fantasy setting, since there really isn't a sense of impending loss. There are some losses that occur in the story, however, and they do subvert our expectations, but these losses aren't as prominent or frequent as it would be if the anime was a lot more serious. It is for those who just want to have a good time and escape reality. After all, that's literally what the isekai genre is, isn't it?